Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing today? What is today? Happy Cousin Fun Day. Today's Cousin Fun Day. Happy Wednesday. Okay, let's do a time and temperature check really quick. It feels like it's been a while since I've sat out here. Oh, there's a little bird that just came and landed in my tree. It feels like it's been a while since I've sat out here and done a time and temperature check. It is currently 6:43 p.m. It's not too cold today. It's actually got prettier as the day's gone on. Earlier today, it was like really, really gray outside. I mean, it's still gray outside, but there's like some blue poking through. You guys want to see? You want to see a little bit of it? Okay, here, I'll show you. You can see there's a little bit of blue poking through, but then there's like gray clouds up there. I don't think we're supposed to get any rain today. I can hear the contractors leaving over there. So my neighbors across the street have been getting their bathroom done for like, I think it's like the last 2 or 3 months. And they're like talking about when it's supposed to get done tomorrow or the next day. And so I was talking to my neighbor today, and I was like, when is your bathroom getting done? It feels like you guys have been working on it forever. They've been working on it forever. She's like, it has been a long time. She's like, he's really meticulous. He's very, very good. She's like, but it is beautiful. She's like, I cannot wait for you to see the finished product. She's like, it is so beautiful. So she's really excited about it being done. She and I talked for a long time today after I got back from Cousin Fun Day. Well, after I got back from Cousin Fun Day, I like filmed some videos, and then because Alex was gonna come home, and then I like talked to her after that. So anyway, but we were talking about this email that we got about the landscapers, and then they're talking about coyotes in our neighborhood. I'll tell you guys all about this. But anyway, the temperature is, all right, I'm gonna be surprised. Okay, I usually guess low. Like right now, I'd say it feels like it's like 44 degrees, but I bet you instead it's probably like 52. Let's pull it up and see. Am I right? Oh, 54. 54 degrees. Oh, feels like 52. Feels like 52. So, it's actually not too bad outside. If it was sunny, it'd be nicer, but it's not too bad outside. So yeah. Oh, you know what? I forgot to bring I wanted some water. I forgot to bring some water out here. I forgot to bring a lighter for the candles. I am not organized at all, but you know what? A bug just landed on the top part of the camera and then it flew away. It's almost spraying if the mosquitoes. I don't think it was a mosquito. I don't know what it was. I don't know what it was. Anyway, so yeah, today was Cousin Fun Day. I'm trying to think about like telling this stuff in order because I start telling a story and then I get like way off track and stuff like that. And I also want to respond to some of your comments because I haven't really read comments from, I think I read like the first couple hours when I posted the vlog last night, but then since, maybe I read them today. I don't know, sometimes when Caroline's driving around, I'll like read comments and stuff like that. But, let's talk about my conversation with the neighbor. Okay, so we got this email. I mentioned it yesterday in my vlog and then I never came back to it. So we got this like very cryptic email from the management company about how there have been coyotes spotted. But they're like not even spotted in our neighborhood. It's like all the way down the street. Like I walk this like outside of our neighborhood. And so the street they're talking about, it's like if I were to walk from here to the street they're talking about at a fast pace, would probably take me 15 minutes. I mean, it's not like in our neighborhood at all. And it was like this very like worrisome email about coyotes in our neighborhood have been spotted one night. One night coyotes were spotted, and this required this email, and that if you have like outside cats, which I don't even think we're supposed to have in our HOA. I mean, I don't have a cat, so I don't know, but I don't even think we're supposed to have outside cats in the neighborhood. But if you have outside cats and you have like little dogs, make sure that you're like, you know, keeping them on a leash and you're not letting them outside at night and stuff like that. What's interesting about this email that she and I were talking about, they have indoor cats. They have like 2 big indoor cats. What's interesting about the email is we've had coyotes in our neighborhood for a long time. In fact, my neighbor next door, she used to see him a lot, like back here, because she would call us because her dog before, so her and her parents have a dog that sometimes stays with her and sometimes stays with her parents, and now she has her dog that she got like a year ago, which is a big dog too, but her other dog is like bigger than the dog that she has now. And so she would like text us and she would say like at 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and she'd say, I'm not really worried. I mean, big dogs should still be worried about coyotes, but she was like, I'm not super worried about, you know, my dog. She was like, but I just want to let you know for like Boo and Tucker and Pee-Pee, she would say that I like saw, you know, a coyote in the backyard or whatever. The thing is, like, every person, like, they've seen coyotes too. I saw one time just kind of like walking down the street. It was like, I don't know, it was a couple years ago. And it was just like walking. It was kind of a small coyote too. You can hear them at night. You can hear them howl. But the thing about coyotes is, and they are a lot in kind of like suburban areas. They kind of hang out in like the woods areas of suburban areas. But I've also like walked out on the street like at, you know, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, which by the way, Caroline said, it was funny because I came out here late last night to do my prayers. And, because I finished this book last night and I was feeling real spiritual reading this book, which we'll get to in a second. And then I was like doing my prayers and stuff. And I looked out at the grass. It didn't feel super cold, which is weird. I mean, I always put a coat on when I come out here at night. But I had my sandals on and stuff, and it didn't feel super cold outside. And but I looked at the grass and I was like, "Is the grass like, is it frozen or something?" Is it like, you know? And so Caroline today, she said it was so cold. I said, "What time did you get up?" And she was like 5:30 or something. Like she says it like I'm ridiculous. It's not like I'm going to bed at that time, you know. And so I'm like, but I think it's ridiculous that she goes to bed at 9 o'clock, you know? So anyway, but she's like, I couldn't believe when I got up. She was like, everything was frozen outside. It was so cold. And I was like, yeah, I was like, it was really cold last night. I was like, but I was looking at the grass and I said, I couldn't tell if it was like, you know, frost. It was, but I guess it frosted last night. So anyway, but I mean, I've walked out here late at night and I've seen like, not like right in front of our house, but like in her yard that's next to it. I've seen like some down like there, like down by the pool and whatever. If I like when I would take like, you know, Boo and Tucker and stuff like that out. I don't know that maybe when Pee-Pee was alive, I don't really remember. But I would see just like a deer like standing in the road. But on my walks, I think I actually put it on my Instagram story one night. As I'm walking through different neighborhoods, I've seen like the last one, it was like 2 huge deer just like ran like right in front of me on the road. I mean, they kind of stopped and then they just like took off and ran into like the woods. There's a lot of different like wooded areas in this like the neighborhood that we're in, the woods back there behind our house. Oh, they must be leaving. The woods out there behind our house are like nothing compared to like when I'm walking. There's like a lot of wooded areas back here. And so I've seen deer, you know, I mean, I've seen all kinds of wildlife and stuff. But anyway, which by the way, Lauren sent me this book. I showed this in a video, my video that I did today, my PO unboxing video, that Lauren sent me this book about wildlife that's like native to Indiana. I'm really excited about sitting out here and looking at the birds and like being like, oh, this is what that bird is. Cause you know, like the more I about squirrels and birds and bunny rabbits and all that kind of stuff, coyote even, like as I look at them, I'm like, well, what kind of bird is that? It looks like a cardinal, but is it a cardinal or is it a woodpecker? You know, what is it? So that was really sweet that she sent that to me. But anyway, so this coyote email is weird because, I mean, she told me back in the day, like she contacted the management company. They never put an email out about it. But now it's like, so I don't know if the president of the HOA called or something because, I don't know. And I don't even know how they found out about it because it's not even in our neighborhood. But then that led into, they kind of slipped it in at the end about the landscaping company. And they were like, oh, by the way, they were like, landscaping will start next month or next week. And they're like, and we've chosen to go again. Well, when they say we've chosen, what they mean is the HOA board has chosen that we've chosen to go again with the landscaping company that they had last summer. Now, my guess was that if they had them again, so this is how the landscaping company thing happened. I talked about this on here, didn't I? That this sweatshirt smells good. I washed it. It's like, smells like, I use these new, you know those like downy beads? I love those things. So many people that I know don't like those. Tanya doesn't like them. Caroline doesn't like them. Caroline's son doesn't like them. They all like talk about how they break out in rashes. That never happens to me, but I can tell you it really like, the scent is so good. And the one I'm using is Cozy something. I had this one before. It was like kind of like an orangish brown bottle, and it was Cozy. I think it was Downy, but it was like Cozy something. I didn't like that one. This is like Cozy Fresh or something, and it's blue and like a light greenish. I like it. I like it a lot. I like it a lot. But anyway, So the way that we got the landscaping company, he gets so bent out of shape about it. He's like, I don't know that we would have moved into this neighborhood if we knew the landscaping was this bad. Because it used to be beautiful, like the yards and stuff. He's not the only one. Like my neighbor on the corner, he like complains about it a lot. I mean, when we're at the pool, people are constantly talking about the yards and how crappy the yards look. I don't think they really look that bad. But what they'll say is, like, as soon as they're mowed, they look like they need to be mowed again. Like, they don't, like, trim the edges and all this kind of stuff. When landscaping is a huge part of what our HOA fees are a month. So I understand that people are upset about it, right? But anyway, I feel like I've told this story like a million times. So I think I just looked it up. Remember that was like 2 weeks ago I looked it up. So we have this company that did like half of Indianapolis. And they would bring in like 3 or 4 trucks in here and have like 20 people working on it. And it was like they were here for like a couple hours. They would also do your walkways and do whatever you wanted them to do. Like if you wanted this all mulched and stuff like that, they would do it. And cheap and quick, and they were great at it. But then they sold their company, or I don't know what happened with the company, but I looked it up, remember? And then we had another company, and nobody in this neighborhood liked that company. They said they were slow, and it took them like, I don't know, 3 days to do it. And they're like, why is it taking 3 days? And it just was, this is the thing, okay, is that when you live in a neighborhood that is, I mean, our neighborhood's beautiful. I mean, every house has mature trees. You know, the trees are different. Like, the tree I have is different than the tree that they have, is different than the tree that their neighbor has. I mean, it's all different trees. The landscape in everybody's yard is different. It's beautiful in here. It's absolutely, the lakes are beautiful. Ponds, but they call them lakes, are beautiful. It's a gorgeous neighborhood. You know, it's quiet. So when there's nothing to complain about, it's like they look for things to complain about. You know what I mean? I mean, even the tennis courts, I showed it in a video that I did on my Peter Does Stuff channel the other day. The tennis courts are even pretty, you know? And it's like, well, that's not good enough. You know, it's in the painting, and then it's always something. You know what I mean? I'm not going to say I've never complained, because I have. But it's stuff like, I'm an adult. If I want to swim in the pool at 1 o'clock in the morning, let me swim in the pool at 1 o'clock in the morning, right? It's stuff like that. It's not about, I don't know. But anyway, I will say that when we had the first company doing the landscaping, it wasn't just like, this is part of the problem, is that in the last couple years, there's been like electrical stuff underground that they've had to dig up in like the winter and early spring, or there's been like things that people have done to their yards, or that like the gas company has had to do, like with my neighbors over there, and then they dig up the yard, and then the gas company doesn't fix it, and so the landscapers are like, well, we'll put sod down. Well, with the first company that we had, it never was a discussion. They would just lay the sod, and then it was just like, the grass looked perfect all summer long, right? And they came out, I think they came out here every week. And it was like a cheaper price because they had so many people than the one that we got next. Then the people that we got next, it was like 3 times a week they came out here, and it was just like everybody was complaining about it, and they wouldn't do the extra work. So, you know, the neighborhood that I live in, it's a lot of older people. And they're small walkways. And so, you know, like if I were, you know, 85, 90 years old, I mean, there's people in this neighborhood that are that age, and I didn't want to do my walkway. I had a hard time finding somebody to do my walkway, you know, when I didn't want to do it, let alone finding somebody that's going to, like, prune. I mean, they do pruning once a year, but pruning bushes and planting flowers and stuff like that, if you want it to look nice, it's hard to find somebody like that, you know? So anyway, so the second company wouldn't do any of that. Like, they wouldn't do any, like, subcontracted work out. They wouldn't do any of that. I think the first team that we had, like, they would come out here, and, like, some of them were working the lawns, and others, but they did everything. Like, they did the lawn back there. They, like, they took care of everything. The guardhouse, the flowers, they did all of it. But then I think they also had, like, part of their team was, like, working on people's houses at the same time. And they were here, like, one day, and they were here from, like, 8 to 12, and then they were gone. So then the second team, they were here all day long. It was, like, 3 days a week. People were so complaining. Oh my God, some of my neighbors were like going off. They're like, nothing ever gets done and blah, 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 whatever. Okay. So then the landscaping manager, who, she does a very nice, I mean, she's very orderly. She does a very nice job of keeping stuff like in the neighborhood looking like really, you know, nice and stuff like that. And now like it's her job to take care of the, like the the planting or the plants at the pool and the guardhouse and like the plants there. And then the back gate, there's plants around there. There's like potted plants. And so, and like all around the what do you call it, the gatehouse, there's like plants and flowers, and they're seasonal, and they change them and stuff. So she's put together, like, I think my neighbor across the street, the gardener, I think she is, like, part of the, last summer she was part of the pool team, and they rotate, and they water all the plants. It's beautiful. The last 2 years, I would say, the plants haven't looked as great as they did, but, like, nobody wants to put money into it in the HOA, right? So I'm thinking this summer, I might talk to her if she's on the pool thing, and I might just donate some plants for the summer, because it is so pretty when the pool has, like, tons of plants on it. And I just might buy, like, buy $100 worth of plants or something, and then just have them up there. So anyway, so the landscaping manager, she's the one that's like walks down the street with like, like a clipboard, and she's like looking at people's lawns, stuff like that. But she does a great job at it. Well, I think she had this friend that was like retired and started, I don't know how she knew him, but he started like this landscaping company. Well, there was something that he did. I talked about it last year. I don't even remember what it was called. But she offered it, like when she put out the email, it was like this special, I think she put it in the mailbox actually. It was like this special service that they were offering. I don't even know what it was. I don't even remember. It was like, I think it was aerating grass or something. It was nothing, but she was the only one that wanted it. Well, I think like, she must have got like a deal or something, like if I can get you to be our landscaper, then I can get it for free. I don't know, or cheaper, I don't know, because she was offering it to people at a cheaper rate. So maybe they were like, we'll throw this in, if But anyway, they got the contract. Well, probably because nobody really cared that sits on the board. Half the people that are in this neighborhood aren't even here half the year anyway, right? So I think like the board probably just was like, yeah, let's just go with her suggestion and let's go with this, landscapers are, in Indianapolis, I don't know where you live, but landscapers are like, there's a ton of them, right? It's interesting in recovery, like I have a few friends of mine that own landscaping companies. I could offer them up actually. And then it's like they hire a lot of sober people. It's kind of like a big job in early sobriety that a lot of people like work landscaping. So anyway, so we got this company last year. Well, they weren't bad. They were better. The guys that work on it, are there any women? I don't think there are, but anyway, the guys that work there are a lot nicer than the other ones. The company before, the one guy came into my yard one day when I had Boo Radley out here, and he was the guy that like did the blow thing up and down, and he like blew it in Boo Radley's face, and Boo Radley was like, he was so confused, he didn't understand. I said, don't you ever do that to my dog again. The guy just laughed at me and walked away. I was like, you are such an ass. And so these guys are really nice. Like, they're always like, when she's out in the garden or whatever, they'll be like, do you care if we come, like, and she's like, no, not at all, whatever. So they've been, like, really good. They're just, people are not happy with how it looks. But I'll be honest with you, like, I'm looking at it, and I'm like, it's just yard. I don't know. But, like, do I see spots that probably need to be sodded and have seed grown? Yeah, 100%. Do I care? No, I don't really care. I literally have there, and that's all I can see of my yard, and then it becomes her yard. Do you know what I mean? And I know she doesn't care. She actually probably cares more than I do, which is funny because she's 31 and I'm 52, and Alex does not care at all. But anyway, do I think it could look a lot nicer? Sure, I think it could look a lot nicer. I think if we're going to pay that much for landscaping, and that's their job, but after reading Comfort of Crows, now I'm just kind of like, have a messy yard. I don't really care. You know what I mean? But anyway, there's like a lot of dry patches. There's a lot of patches that like don't have any grass at all. So I'll tell you, next to my neighbor, my pool crew 1 and 2 ladies, their house where the gas company came, oh, it is bad. It is like literally just a mudslide. But they said they were going to come out there and fix it. The gas company did. And now, so that was part of the email too, is that they said that now the landscaping company is going to fix that. Well, I don't know that the landscaping company can handle that. So, but the landscaping company is starting next week, so that should be exciting. Where do I hear people come? Oh, here these people come downstairs. Hey, how are you? Not too bad. Oh my God, how are you? Great, how are you? Good, it's so good to see you.
So good to see you. How are you guys doing?
We're good. How are you doing?
Fabulous.
Are you, did you watch the Fox Hollow Farms documentary?
Okay, was that the one that's on,
Hulu?
No, I have not seen it.
So I've made like 3 videos about it, and I have not talked, but I've talked about you a lot on my videos. Because I'm like, she used to work with his wife. I know this woman, she and her daughter used to come and talk to Alex and I. She walks in my neighborhood. I love her and her husband.
I'm telling you.
So we got to catch up.
Was it shocking or?
Very shocking.
My brother's watched it. He said it's been incredible.
Oh, it's really, really good.
Yeah. There's a guy who supposedly is like the think he could have something to do with it because he's like the one victim that got away.
Yeah, but he's not. You find out he's not the one victim. He like supposedly dated her Baumeister. But then I was telling him about how you told me that his mom lived right down there, and she just pointed. Yeah, and that like when I drive by there and whatever, like it's like scares the hell out of me and whatever.
They still have the blue mailbox.
Yeah, Alex and I were coming back from there the other day, and I was like, did you see they're building houses and the driveway next to it or something?
Yeah, behind it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah.
Somebody, yeah.
So are they turning that into like a neighborhood?
So the guy that owns that land, his son-in-law and daughter are building the house behind them. So he still owned the land up to that point when he sold it to the people that have the house there now.
Gotcha.
So behind it, I don't think anyone else will move in there. It was.
Well, he's building a house and then he's building a big gym.
Okay, but if you look at it,
Yep.
his parents' house was the one to the left.
It was, yes.
But that's not the house he grew up in, right?
No.
Well, that's a house her Baumeister
Yes.
grew up in.
Oh, it is?
The one on 75th Street down there.
She goes, yeah.
Julie
You
still,
need to have her as a guest.
You want to be a guest in one of my videos?
Julie still lives in Steinmeier.
Steinmeier.
People can look it up.
It's creepy.
It's good seeing you guys.
I keep forgetting about it and I need to watch it because we don't really do Hulu.
They're getting so big.
This one needs to just simmer down for a little bit.
It's like her second walk ever. She's actually.
Aww, they're doing so good.
She just is a spaz. He's great, but she needs to be trained
Aww.
and not by me.
Well, it's good seeing you.
It's so good seeing you.
Okay.
Keep me posted on it.
Absolutely.
You know what? I'm gonna follow it.
Alex is gonna be so jealous. When I go inside, I'll be like, guess what? I got to talk. He'll be so jealous. I saw you.
Well, tell him. I mean, if I'm in the yard, you gotta stop and holler at me.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right. See you guys later.
Thanks for asking, guys.
Bye. So she's the one that used to work with Julie, her Baumeister's wife, like part-time. And she's the one that tells me all the her Baumeister stuff. And she's like, so, like, her Baumeister, like, the house that his mom grew up in, I guess that where he grew up in, I guess that was the house that I walked back from when I was voting. And so when Alex and I, because like, unless we're going to like Cafe Patashu, when we're coming home from like therapy or anything else, we always like drive by there. He's always like, I'll like look over and I'll be like, babe, that's like he could care less. Alex is like, what? He's like, I don't care. But anyway, she's the one that gives me all the information about it. That's funny. I don't think she's ever been on one of my vlogs when she walks by before. I love her. Her and her husband are so nice. They're so fun. Oh my God, that's so crazy. That is so crazy that she walked by. So, would you guys want her to be on a... She would totally, 100%. She is... Listen, if I wasn't vlogging right now, that conversation would have been 2 hours, okay? Because, like, when she comes down... Well, she had her husband with her today and her 2 little dogs, which were so cute. And they're, like, the same age as me. And, like, we went to, like... So, anyway, the high schools that they went to, like, they went to private high schools. Well, actually... Her husband went to a private high school. I think she is from Ohio. And so, but we like know a lot of the same people that we like went to high school with around. I mean, everybody in Indianapolis that graduated the same kind of years kind of knows everybody. And so her husband and I think he's actually a year older than me. And so he went to a private Catholic high school here in town. This whole area is all Catholic high schools. And so one day we were like, talking, and he was like, do you know this person, do you know that person? And she was like, do you know this person, do you know that person? And so anyway, oh my God, that was so fun seeing them. I can't believe they haven't watched it. Like, she's always like, whenever she walks by, she like power walks by. She does Pilates and stuff too. She like power walks by, and she'll always be like, oh my God, did you hear this? This was long before the documentaries and stuff came out. So, oh, it's so good seeing them. Anyway, what was I talking about? Coyotes. Where was I at? I don't even remember what I was talking about. Let's go back in time. Oh, the landscapers. I was talking about the landscapers. It's so boring though, isn't it? Who'd care about the landscaping? Anyway. What's so funny about it is, like, I remember when I was, like, growing up. Hey, how are you?
Good, how you doing?
Good, it's good to see you.
Yeah.
Everybody's out today that I haven't seen in a while. They're like, I'm like, hey, how are you? When I was growing up, our yard was pretty. Like, our yard here, it's funny that they're coming out and mowing it. Because, I mean, I don't even know it's that... I feel like it's a little early to do that. Are you guys mowing your yard yet if you live in the Midwest? It's still like the grass looks really low. I mean, there's some parts along the, why am I talking about this? This is so stupid. There's some parts along the edge that are like this high, but the most of the grass is like that high. I remember when I was growing up, like our grass was like every one of our neighbors and neighborhoods, it was like pristine. So, anyway, I remember like there was like some neighborhood kid that was like in college or something like that did our yard for, I feel like when my dad left, like we had landscapers for like a year, and then my mom was like, that's ridiculous, we're not paying for that. And she would like, so we had these like boxwoods and she would trim them so that they were square. We had them on either side of like this like brick courtyard that we had. If you saw the picture that I showed. And then I think there was this guy that was like in the neighborhood that like his parents were, like he was in college or something, his parents lived in there, and he would come and do all the yards in the summer. And I think his brother did it after him or something like that. I can remember my mom being like, it's $20 to mow the lawn. Can you believe that? $20, my mom. She'd be like, that is so expensive. Do you know what I cannot believe? Is like when we go out to dinner with friends of ours, or with like our friends that like we travel with sometimes that have like 3 kids, they, like what we were talking about them the other day, so like her niece like lives with them as kind of like a nanny babysitter while she's like in college and stuff, and so when they want to go out for like dinner or date night or whatever, she just like watches them. And I'm like, but you know, like she pays to live there, but also she like helps take care and stuff like that, so they pay her. And they're like, I said, well, do you pay her? They're like, oh, of course we pay her to babysit, like if we're going out. I mean, that's not, you know, like part of what her responsibility is. And I said, what's the going rate? And they said, well, she's cheaper because like she won't charge us as much because whatever. But like we were talking to some friends of ours, it was the same time we went to dinner with them, and they said it was ridiculous what they pay per kid per hour. It was like $20 per kid per hour, and they have 2 kids. I was like, really? And then they like go through this whole like thing where it's like they do a background check on the babysitter and all this kind of stuff. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? It's like some website where you go through and it's like, they're like, yeah, we found this like this woman and she's like in medical school and we really, really like her and she's trying to earn some extra money, and you know, she knows about like all our kids this and our kids that and whatever. And so everybody, all my friends have kids, are like, it is so hard to find a babysitter, and if you can't, it's almost pointless to go out because it's so expensive to go out. I mean, I know when I worked in treatment, all of the people that I worked with had kids, and they would, like this one woman that I was friends with that I worked with, so we started working together before she was married. Actually went to her wedding with my ex, and then like 2 years after that she had her son, and then 2 years after that she had her daughter. And I can remember she was like, and her husband did well, he made pretty good money, and I can remember she was at the point where she was like, I don't know if I should just stay at home or if I should continue to work. And I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, you know, he said, like, if I want to stay home, I can. And she was like, it's at the point now where, because I think she ended up going down to like part-time hours. And she was like, it's at the point now where like what we're paying in daycare is almost exactly what I'm making in salary. And she was like, it's pointless. Like, she's like, the only thing it does is that the kids are socialized and I get to get out of the house. She was like, it's like, I'm basically, you know, like paying daycare to get out of the house, but I'm cutting even because what I'm making is what I'm paying in daycare. I think that was the first time that I really understood like truly how expensive daycare was. And it wasn't, I remember like all the people that I worked with, they didn't like, it wasn't like they were going to like having their kids in like these super expensive like daycare programs and stuff like that. I mean, they were good daycare programs. I remember like her kids were watched by like a family friend that had like watched kids through the years. I think may have watched her when she was younger as well. And then somebody else that I worked with, it was right close to us, it was like a daycare center. It was like one of those Primrose places or something like that. But anyway, and I can remember she'd get like a report card and stuff like that. And then this guy that I worked with, his daughter and his son went to like a church daycare that they were involved in, but all of them were super expensive. I remember sitting there and talking, they would talk about it and they'd be like all of them paid about the same amount of money for daycare. I just could not even believe it was so expensive. And you're talking, I mean, I left working in treatment 17 years ago, you know, so astronomical. I don't even know how you guys do it sometimes with daycare. And like, you know, when friends of mine will talk to me about having kids, friends of mine that have 2 and 3 kids, and between like daycare, babysitters, groceries to feed, I mean, especially like when you have kids that are like all different ages, you know, like when they get to junior high and high school, I have friends of mine that'll be like, oh my God, I'm so ready for them to go back to school because they've eaten me out of house and home. Like, and they're like, I'm like, how much do you spend? And they're like, it's ridiculous what we spend in groceries a week. I don't even know how you guys do it. Like, seriously, I mean, and then on top of that, it's like sports programs and summer camps. Like one of Alex's friends, her daughter is like, because she works, you know, and she's a single mom, and so she's like, I've got to get her involved in stuff. So she's doing like 6 summer camps or something. And each of the summer camps, like she was telling us about it, are like I mean, they're cool summer camps that she's doing. Like there's like an art one, there's like she's real interested in theater, there's like a theater one, but then there's like a sports one that the camera stopped. Am I really at 30 minutes already? Anyway, and then there's like a sports one that goes the whole summer. But like all of these different camps that she's got her in are like they're super expensive, you know? And like all the people that I know that like their kids are in traveling sports and they're expected to go out of town, go to a hotel room, take the whole family, then you gotta like eat out. I really do not know how people do it. I really don't. Like, I mean, you're talking about a couple extra $1,000s a month, you know? It's one of the reasons why I say like good parenting is one of the most underpaid, well, it's not paid at all, but underappreciated jobs ever. I mean, it's literally a career, you know, that I don't think that we even acknowledge that it's a career. You know, it's interesting because, you know, like forever and ever, people would always be like, you know, don't you and Alex want to have kids and stuff like that. I've discussed that enough that I feel like it's like beating a dead horse at this point. I mean, no, that was kind of like one of the things, like when we got together, Alex definitely didn't want to have kids. Like never. He never wanted to have kids. Wanted to be an uncle. You know, even be an uncle to not just our nephews, but, it's weird to say that now, nephews. Because we have 3 now with Cruz. But because when I say nephews, I always just think of Carlitos and Sebastian. Oh my God, there's like in the group text, there's the sweetest thing that like between like Liliana and Jesse, and it's Carlitos and Sebastian like talking to their new cousin. It's so sweet. So anyway, it's like this video of them talking. It's really, really sweet. But you know, Alex didn't really want to have kids. I've talked about this before. I think like I really never did either, you know? I mean, I've always kept late hours, and I've always wanted to keep late hours, and all that kind of stuff. And I just, you know, I think after I got sober, you know, I mean, first of all, when I got sober, it's kind of a weird conversation to have, because it's a conversation that, like, do I know people that 20 years ago were gay and had kids? Yes, I do know. Do I know the majority of them were like in heterosexual relationships, had kids, and then came out? Do I know some couples that had kids as couples together? A few. But I would say more like they're all like, all the kids are like 10 and under. It's been really in the last 10 years. It's really kind of a newer concept, you know, like that, not a newer concept, but like, when I just don't, the reason why I say it as a concept is because, like, when I got sober, I didn't even think, like, marriage equality was a reality. I definitely wasn't thinking about, like, you know, that we were going to adopt kids or have kids, you know, or a surrogate or any of those kinds of things. When my ex and I were together, I mean, that was something that we did talk about, you know, that we did talk about, like, getting married and having kids. But even then, talking about getting married, it was more like getting a house. Like, that was more of what we talked about, you know, as far as commitments and stuff. It wasn't so much about, like, I don't know, but, you know, this was the thing that I feel blessed that I have been surrounded by so many magnificent parents, you know? Putting my mom's drinking to the side, you know, during her active addiction, like, my mom was a fantastic mother. I mean, she absolutely was. She thought through everything. You know, definitely after she got sober. My dad, fantastic father. My stepmother, fantastic stepmother. My aunt and uncle, Tanya and her husband. I mean, I feel like my whole life I've been surrounded by fantastic parenting. That being said, all of those people gave up a lot to be parents. Like, they really wanted to be parents. And so they gave up trips. Like, you know, they put money into this and, you know, whatever. And they didn't stay up late. They went to bed, you know, kids would go to bed. They'd go to bed an hour later. They'd have an hour of, you know, free time with themselves because they really wanted to be parents so bad, you know? And, like, I remember, like, talking to Carlos a couple years ago. They had gotten back from Disney World, and I think that my mother-in-law went with them. And I made some joke, and I was like, oh, you and Liliana need to take, like, just a trip by yourself together. And he was like, why? And I was like, I don't know, just the two of you together. And he was like, I mean, he's like, we do things together, just, you know, like, I think, you know, like, I think that's why, like, my mother-in-law went with them, so, like, she could watch the kids, you know, one night or whatever. And she had friends in that area, too, so she would go do something one night, and they'd stay home or whatever, and they would have, like, a date night or whatever. He's like, but he was like, you know, when we go on vacation, we want to spend time with the kids. So, like, we love to take the kids, because that's time we get to spend together as a family. And I totally get that, and I respect that, right? But that is not how I want to live my life, you know what I mean? Like, that's not my priority. And I think that I thought it through so much that if it's not going to be my priority, then it's probably something that I shouldn't do. Because I think it's a huge, you're raising the future, you're raising children, you're raising a human being. And if it's not a priority to you, it's just something that, you know, I think it's also that I you know, met so many people through the years that just flagrantly are just like, well, I guess we're going to have a kid, you know, it's like, okay, but there's a lot that goes into that. And there's a lot that goes into being a good parent, you know, being a conscious parent, really thinking through the choices that you make. And that just wasn't a priority to me. And then when I met Alex, like I've said this before, like if I met somebody that was really what they wanted for their life, like they were like, okay, like if I was in love with them and they were like, I really, you know, want to adopt or, you know, have a child through surrogate or whatever, and if you're not on board, I probably would have done it. And today I wouldn't, absolutely, today I wouldn't. But before I met Alex, probably. But I also knew who I am as a person, and my life would have drastically changed. I wouldn't be living in this neighborhood, I can tell you that right now, you know, with all the people being 60 and over mostly. I mean, I would live in a neighborhood where the kids were able to have friends, have them very involved in the school stuff. I would be very involved in all of that, and that would become my life. Like, and so my life wouldn't look like what it does today, and that wasn't a priority to me. And so when I met Alex, and Alex was very much like, I don't even get talking about this, I don't know. But when Alex was just like, that's a deal breaker for me, like I don't want kids, I was like, hey, I'm totally on board with that, you know? So it's interesting because there's my pool crew guy. He's pushing, he's got his shorts on and his slippers and everything. He's pushing the trash out. You know, I feel like not so much anymore. I wouldn't say in a long, long time, not so much anymore. He's waving to somebody, so somebody must be walking down the street. He just went like that with his hands, like, what? Oh, they're walking that way, I think, because he's talking to him over there. There was a period of time when I was kind of like, what's my legacy? You know, like, I'm the last Monn, you know what I mean? Because I am the last Monn, you know, except for like some people on my dad, like some of my cousins on my dad's side and stuff like that. But for my dad's, I'm, you know, the last one. Like, who do I give this stuff to? Like, who cares, you know? And I was talking to my dad one time about it. My dad's like, as you get older, you don't really care about that stuff. I said, well, some people do. Like, I mean, that people are fighting over that stuff till they go to their grave. He's like, yeah. He's like, but if you're really honest with yourself, you really don't care about that stuff. Because when you're gone, it doesn't really matter anyway. He's like, you want to leave, like, maybe, you know, a legacy behind or what people thought of you or whatever. He goes, but in the end, it doesn't really matter. You're gone. You won't know. And I was like, well, that's true. He goes, and even if you do, he's like, there's nothing you can do about it anyway at that point, right? And I was like, yeah, that's true. And he was like, Peter, he was like, you know, I try to live my life in the present and do what's right in the present. He goes, you know, if people remember it, they don't remember it. He goes, I don't really think much about it, you know? And he was like, I think it's sad to live your entire life with what's my legacy going to be that I leave behind, you know, like, will I exist long after I'm gone? He goes, that's not living, you know, your life while you're here, because you're living for another time. He's like, why? That's sad to me, you know? And he's like, and I don't even care that you don't carry my name on or anything like that, you know? He was like, I can remember my dad, though, and my stepmom, like, years ago, like, when I came out, and I'd be like, well, I'm not going to have kids, and then my stepmom would be like, well, you don't know, you might adopt someday. My mom would say that, too. But then later, my mom was like, it wasn't that she could care less, I mean, she could care less about, like, me being gay and, you know, having kids. What it was about was that she was like, I've already raised a kid, I don't want to, so if your plan is to get a kid and then have me take care of it 5 days a week while you work, she's like, that's not what I want the end of my life to look like, you know? And I was grateful that she was honest with me about that, you know? So anyway, so I was talking about my nephews. This is something about my nephew. How did I get started in all this? I don't even know. Yeah, but anytime we do like a Q&A, Alex and I always get asked that. You guys would be such great dads. You should have kids. Like, you know, I really think that those are like, there's like big decisions like you make in like where you live, if you're going to have kids, things like that. And I think like those should definitely be things that you're like, I feel like I met so many people that are like, that get married and they're like, well, he wants kids, but she doesn't, or she wants kids, but he doesn't, you know? And I'm like, that's a pretty big deal to maybe not discuss before you get engaged. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, those are big deal things. I just always felt like if it wasn't a priority to me, you know, it wasn't something that I felt like, you know, compelled to do. Like having dogs is something that I feel compelled to do. You know, if that wasn't something I felt like I was compelled to do, then maybe that wasn't something that I needed to do in my life, you know? And, I don't know. I think sometimes people that I've known, I've even had people come to me through the years and be like, you know, people that I've known and been like, I never really wanted to be a parent. Well, it probably plays out later in life because of you didn't really show up, you know? And maybe you didn't have parents that showed up for you. Maybe that's why you didn't want to be a parent. You know what I mean? I don't know. Anyway, I don't even remember how I got talking about that. What was I talking about? I don't even remember now. Shoot. Landscaping? What was I talking about? I don't even remember what I was talking about before. The birds. My neighbor. The email. My neighbors came by. We're talking about her Baumeister. Why don't I remember what I was talking about? I said something about my nephews. I was talking about the cost of things. Is that how I got into it? I was talking about summer camps, Alex's friend's daughter's summer camps. Yeah, it's all of it so expensive. I really don't know how. That's how I think I got talking about it. I really don't know how you guys afford it. I really don't. I don't know how my friends do. Like when my friends tell me how much they spend on groceries, I'm like, damn. Damn. You think that's, I mean, that is expensive, you know, for groceries. I just really don't understand it. But, I mean, I understand it. I just like, it's a lot. And then, you know, insurance, medical issues, you know, athletic things, school books, all this, all that, you know. It's a lot. So thank you to you good parents out there for raising our future, you know. So let's talk about, what did I do last night? Should we talk about last night first? Okay, so last night, I finished 2 books last night. So last night I was like, I didn't really want to take a nap. What was last night, Tuesday? I was vlogging when Alex came home from his meeting, right? So I didn't really want to take a nap last night, and I really wanted to, so I, you know, been listening to James Patterson books, and then I had started the night before Tweak by Nick Sheff. So Nick Sheff is an addict in recovery. I think he's been sober like 11 or 12 years now. But at the time that the book was written, he's been sober for 4 months. His dad wrote the book Beautiful Boy, which I've shared the story before that. I read it. I was recommending it to people because I'd heard so much about it, like parents and things like that. And then I asked my dad after I listened to it. It's been since I was on YouTube that I listened to that book. Because I can remember talking about it in a vlog. And I listened to it finally. It'd been out for years. And I remember calling my dad. So it's about, Beautiful Boy is this dad's story about his son's meth addiction. And so I remember asking my dad, I was like, have you read this book before? And he was like, oh yeah, I read it right when it came out. I was like, how did you know about it? And he was like, oh, I don't know, Wall Street Journal or something like that. So I knew that Nick Sheff had put out, I actually have a copy of it here. Not an Audible copy, but like a physical copy of it that I bought at like Half Price Books years ago. So then Nick Sheff, his son, wrote the book Tweak, which is about his life. It's called like My Life Growing Up on Methamphetamines or something like that. So that was the book that I picked for March for Peter's, well, not Peter's anything, but the recovery read-along that I'm doing. So for those of you that don't know, on my Peter Does Stuff channel, I started a recovery read-along. February was the first month. It was Dry by Augustin Burroughs, and it was Drinking a Love Story by Carolyn Knapp. March's book was Tweak by Nick Sheff. I didn't really know what to think going into it. You know, methamphetamine was not my drug of choice. And so I was like, I don't know that I'm going to relate to this. Well, I'd started listening to it the night before. Like, I don't remember even how much of it. 5-10 minutes, maybe longer. I don't even know. But anyway, the night before. And so when I finished the James Patterson book, the last one, And so I was like, last night, I was like, I'm going to listen to this book. I literally sat and did puzzles. I was like out here cleaning up. I literally listened to 4 hours of that book last night. Starting at like, I don't even know what time it was, starting at like 9:30. I listened to the entire book. I was blown away. Blown away by the book Tweak by Nick Sheff. I have read a lot of recovery memoirs, and I think that after I got done reading it, I came out here, I was just like, I need to like talk to God for a second. I felt so spiritual. It is a hard book to read, I will tell you that right now. The powerful thing about it is, like I said, methamphetamine is not my drug. This is a book for the saying, a drug is a drug is a drug, is so powerful when it comes to reading this book. Because when you read this book, what you realize is that, yes, different drugs have different consequences. Different drugs have different health issues. Different drugs have, higher, incident of addiction and things like that. But when it comes down to the behavior and the addiction itself, like, we're not unique. And even though, like, methamphetamine wasn't my drug of choice, I so related to this story in this book. I mean, it literally was my story. But parts of it were. And so, well, I wouldn't say everything, like he gets in this relationship with this woman later, but that's kind of similar to me being in this relationship before I got into treatment, just a guy, and he was with a woman. His relationship with his dad and stepmom is like very similar to my relationship with my dad and my stepmom at the time. When it starts, he has relapsed and been sober already. And so it's like a year of his life of like trying to get sober again in this relationship. It is so, so, so beautifully done. So beautifully done. And, I just couldn't stop listening to it. I literally came out here and like the first thing I said when I was praying was, God, thank you so much for my sobriety. I mean, the book made me feel so grateful for my sobriety. So grateful. That when I look at my sobriety and it's like each and everything that I have in my life today goes back to December 17th of 1994. That everything goes back to the day that I got sober. I've had people recently reach out to me because on my Peterisms channel, I was talking about, like, if you guys have questions, reach out to me. And so many people reach out to me and are like, like my spouse relapsed, or I know somebody that relapsed. Like, how can I help them? And there's so many things I could say, get involved in Al-Anon or Nar-Anon, which are sister programs, or get involved with a therapist yourself. Or, one of the things I would recommend is Beautiful Boy is, I think it's great for parents to read or family members too, as far as because it teaches you how to set limits and boundaries. That's what the end of the book is about, Beautiful Boy. It's how the dad learns to set boundaries, which he does throughout this book. This book almost kind of feels like a response to Beautiful Boy, if that makes sense. But this book, so Beautiful Boy would be a great book, I think, for addicts and alcoholics to read. Because I don't know that we really ever understand how our friends and family members, even 30 years sober, I don't know that we really get it, like what we put them through. But Tweak, it would be a great book for friends and family members of addicts and alcoholics to read, because it's not just about the drug, it's about the chasing of the drug, it's about the fantasizing about it, it's about the sick relationships that we build, it's about being consumed with it all the time. It's really about like how it's a thinking disease, not a drinking or drugging disease, and it really shows that. It's fantastic. Not to mention at the end of it, which I think the next book that he wrote after this is mostly about his treatment experiences. The treatment experiences at the end are very similar to mine. I mean, there's a little bit that's off, but it's very similar to the treatment experience that I had, like the things that he shares in there. And I really liked him talking about it. I don't know, I thought it was fantastically done. So I got done with that, and then I talked to Nick. Oh, I was doing puzzles through most of it. Hey, how are you? This little dog is like walking down. He's like, all these people have little poodles in our neighborhood. So I don't know if that was like it looked like a little bit older than a puppy, but it was like this big, this little like brown like poodle doodle. What are they called? Maybe it was like a miniature golden doodle or something like that. I don't know, but it was cute. So anyway, I got done with that. Talked to Nikki on the phone for a while. Tanya and I talked for a long time last night too. Alex went to bed sometime during, because like he like texted me while I was like reading or listening to an audiobook, and I was like, so I went upstairs and I like kissed him goodnight, and then like I finished the book. But anyway, so then I was like, okay, I'm finishing Maximum Ride. So I sat down and I had like 50 pages left to read. But then at the very end of Maximum Ride, they have like, I don't really understand it. So Fang, who's one of the characters, has a blog online that he like posts pictures and stuff of, and like, so the end of it is like him and this like one of their group, the Flock, and they're like flying to Washington D.C. and so it's like pictures of like places they've stopped and like the treehouse they're in, and like he drew it, and he's like telling. I don't really understand what it's like. It's not the epilogue, because there is an epilogue. But anyway, I finished it. I actually gave it 4 stars. I really, really liked it. I think I'm going to read more of the series. I just think I'm going to take a break from it for a second. It's a lot. It just is a lot of like, let's go here and let's go there. I mean, it's like, it really could have been like, it was like, I think 300 and some pages, 330 pages. I think it was 333 pages or 322 pages. But anyway, it was a lot of like, oh, look, we're going to go over here, and then they're following us here and chasing us here, and then we're going over here, and they're following us, chasing us over here, and then, oh, let's go up here. It's like, some of the things don't make sense to me. Like, at one point, they're like in New York City. They're sleeping in Central Park in these trees, and they, like, the police come and are like, you can't sleep in this tree. So then they have to find somewhere else to sleep. So then they sleep in this, like, building that's under construction on, like, the 20th floor, and they have, like, this nest built and all this kind of stuff for one night. Then they go back to Central Park. I'm like, why don't you go back to that building? It was perfect. And like the raptor guys, they're called the racers, they can't come and get you and all this kind of stuff because they can't fly, they can't get up there. Like, it's perfect for you. But they don't go back there. I don't know why. I think they might stay there 2 nights maybe. I don't know. But it's just, anyway. But the book is good. I really like the book. I kept on thinking, she meets some people. She meets this mom and this daughter along the way that make these chocolate chip cookies. I know when I say this, somebody's going to be like, oh, that's the 3rd book. But I kept on thinking she was going to go back to them because she's like this microchip in her, and the mom's a vet, and I thought she was going to take the microchip out, and then she's going to live with them and all kind of stuff. But it's a series, you know. So I'm going to read more of them, but I think I'm going to wait a little bit. I got to get, you know, into my post-apocalyptic stuff. So anyway, so I read that last night, and then it was getting late, and I was like... Okay, I had started reading early. I mean, I don't know how long I read last night, 4 or 5 hours. But then I was like, okay, like, Caroline's coming tomorrow. I got stuff to do before she comes, blah, blah, whatever. So I was like, I got to, you know, go to bed early. I was like, I'm just going to watch an episode of Ghosts. Oh my God, I don't even know how many I watched. I think I watched like 3 episodes of Ghosts last night. Let me see. Let me see if it'll pull up on my phone. Okay. What episode I'm on episode 18. I don't want to go to it because okay, let me pull up the season. Okay, past season 1, season 2. Oh, that's Ghost UK. Why are there so many short episodes on Ghost UK? Is it a short show? Is it a short show? Oh, here it is. Okay. So let's go to season... Oh, I'm on season 2. Okay. What were the episodes that I watched last night? I watched... Let's go down to the very end. Okay. I watched... Oh, I was halfway through A Date to Remember, which is 15. So I watched 15, 16, 17, and part of 18. So 15... And I had the whole thing. So, did I watch the one before that? Trevor's Body, that was where they find his skull and then his parents come. Now, that was Tara Reid's in that one. I watched that one the other night. Okay. A Date to Remember is Valentine's Day, and Thor is going on a date with Flower, the hippie, and he's like this Viking. So they keep on canceling Valentine's Day, Sam and Jay. That was the one I went to. Then Isaac's book. So Isaac is this guy from the American Revolution, and he's so been out of shape that Hamilton has his own musical, so he wants a book so he can tell, but he doesn't really have much of a story, and he died of dysentery. So she lies about this book being written. And then the next one was, 17, was Weekend from Hell. And that's where Hetty, that's like Sam's great aunt or something like that like originally owned the house. Like her husband that's died, he's in hell now. He comes back from hell and tries to get her to sign this contract and stuff. That was really good. And then the next one, which I started, but I didn't get that very far into, is Alberta's Descendant. So Alberta is a jazz singer that was like murdered in the house. And it's like it's her sister's great-granddaughter or something like that. And so she's like firing all these questions away. I was like, okay, I'm gonna save that for tomorrow night. So I watched that. Did I watch something else? I feel like I watched something else too. I don't remember. Anyway, that's what I watched last night. And yeah, and then today, Caroline came and picked me up, and we just like ran around and did errands. We were talking about like, because, you know, we're trying to, like, try all these, like, new little coffee shops and stuff. And I was telling her about, because I had talked to her before, and I was like, you know what really sounds good is one of those espresso tonics that I got. And she was like, well, do you want to drive over there? And I was like, well, people still want us to go to Swig. And I said, but Swig is, like, 25 minutes the other direction. And then there's going to be a line. I was like, I don't really feel like going to Swig today. So she's like, well, we could go to, I think it's called Miriam's or something like that they have it. she's like, do you want to go there? And I was like, it's kind of far away. And she's like, well, who cares? But I was like, yeah, let's not. So we stopped at some other place. I just got a regular iced coffee, and it was not great. It was not great. But anyway, so then we went to the post office, and then we went to Costco. She had a bunch of stuff she had to get at Costco. She was like had a lot of like work stuff today. So like we would kind of sit in the parking lot, and I would talk to her, and we listened to music while she was like, reading and answering emails and stuff like that. So we sat in the Costco parking lot for a while. It was just nice to get out of the house, it's nice to get out of here every once in a while. I wasn't really gone that long, honestly. And then, where else did we go? Where was she when she was like, this is the last thing we have to do? I think Costco was the last thing that we had to do. She was like, you don't have a ton more to get? I was like, no, I don't really have that much to get today. So we kind of drove around stuff. I feel like we went to one other place that she needed to go. Now I can't remember what it was. Yeah, so it was fun. Cousin Fun Day was good. Listen to the little birds chirping. I love the little birds. Little birds. Should I get into reading some of the comments on the vlog? I think I shall. I think I shall. We'll just do a couple comments on the vlog of love. The vlog of love. Do you would think that that's just who I am, or that I get that from my mom, but I don't. I get that from my dad. My dad would make up all these songs when I was a kid, like constantly making up songs. And I've talked about this before, like with the dogs, like he made like zones of eatery, that you had to like feed them in a certain place. But my dad is the one that like, let me get out of that. My dad is the one that, what am I doing? I'm like going through all this stuff. Okay. My dad is the one that makes up all these ridiculous songs. He's the one that like makes up all the funny songs. So anyway, I'm trying to think of other songs that my dad would make up when I was growing up as a kid. Oh, your vac is late. That's your vacation is over. That's one that he would say. He would always, like, we were on the last day of our vacation, he'd go, your vac is late. Your vac is late. What were other ones that my dad said? Something about school being out. And then there was another one for the fall that when, like, you could hear the cicada or something like that in their cry, he would, like, wrote this song about it. My dad is so funny. Anyway, okay. Let's read some comments. Okay, C. Waz said, I was talking about my headache yesterday. It's 100% caffeine withdrawal headaches. They happen to me, too, when I don't have my energy drink for the day. It's interesting that you say that, because today I don't really have a headache at all. And I've noticed that on the days that I don't really have coffee until later in the day, I do have headaches. And what's weird about it is I'm not drinking that much caffeine anymore. Like back in the day, I would understand I drank, coffee or caffeine all through the day. But I'm not really drinking that much caffeine anymore, throughout the day. So I don't know what it is. Hernie said, keep coming back is bless your heart in recovery. It kind of is. I mean, like bless your heart in the South, like bless your heart, It kind of is, but not really. I mean, it's a recovery slogan that people say, keep coming back. It works if you work it, things like that. People say that stuff. What I didn't really understand is like, when I got sober, I think it has kind of a different connotation today, but when I got sober, like I would say, like I would share, and then people would be like, keep coming back. And what they mean is like, you're not there yet. Like you don't really get it yet. You know what I mean? Like that's what they would say to me, back in the day. And then my second sponsor said to me, like, you need to shut your mouth and listen. What did he say? Shut your mouth and open your ears, because you don't have anything to share. You have no experience to share on. You just need to listen to it. And that's a lot of what like old timers would tell us back then. You need to listen to people that have done it. Like, you know what? And we don't need to hear drug stories and drinking stories. We need to hear about recovery. You don't have that yet to teach. So shut your mouth and open your ears and listen. Hernie also said, we want the Bravo content. And then replied and said, please. Okay, somebody said, I think I've commented this before, but I live in Broad Ripple in Indiana. Oh my God, we're like 5 minutes from each other. Okay. Chrissy said, I've heard this story several times on your channel. What story? I repeat my stories all the time. If you watch my vlog for any period of time, every story I've probably told at least 60 times. At least. Delilah said, I love Delilah. Said, I love to hear what you're reading. I don't care what you talk about, just as long as you're Sam said, listen, Linda, you can talk about all the books with the EDMs, electronic dance music. Oh, you mean the electric pulse magnetic EMPs on the moon, or the TV stories with the ghosts that you want. Aww. Christy said, hey, Peter, thanks for the vlog. I'm a very slow reader, so I'm still in the first James Patterson book. I'll get there. I like hearing what you're doing. I like when you're excited about something. Now, TV shows and movies, I pretty much watch what... Oh, you are so sweet. What you recommend. Love you. Just enjoy the book. Don't rush through it. You know, like, that's my thing is, when I get in a book that I actually... The more enjoyable I love a book, it's almost kind of like the slower that I read it, because I'm, like, so into it. I'm like, I don't want to rush through this book. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I am about it. Meg said, I'm sensitive to the weather, too. I was just talking to somebody today when we were out. Where were we? I think it was when we were at Costco. I was talking to this woman, and she said something... The camera stopped. Am I really at an hour already? But she said something about, like, the weather in Indiana is so weird. Where was I when I was talking to her? She was like, the weather in Indiana is so weird. It's like one day, it's like, oh, she was talking about how hot it was in Costco. It was a woman I was talking to at Costco. She was like, it's so hot in here. And I was like, yeah, Indiana weather. And she said, yeah, it's so weird. It's like one day it's cold, the next day it's hot. And she's like, she says it's cold outside today, or was last night. They turned the heat on and now it's hot in here. Somebody said, couldn't wait any longer when I started Ice Planet Barbarians without you. Well, let me know what you think of it. Felicity said, Peter, when you said, I don't think I would have survived bullying if social media was around when I was a kid, I suddenly realized that kids now have no escape from the bullying since social media is always with them. Before school, after school, vacation. There is no safe place for them. I have never thought of it like that. Thankful I was born in 1988 and social media didn't start until my mid-20s. You know, I 100% agree with that. I mean, I think about that sometimes. It's like, what do you do? Especially when you, like... You don't really have the resources to say, I'm not going to engage in this. You don't have the emotional resources to say, I'm not going to engage in this. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that, right? And so it's like you leave school and you don't really have a respite because you're like online and people are tagging you in it and whatever. I mean, I've heard some ruthless stories. I've watched documentaries about it. It's horrible, you know? Casey said, Notre Dame. What about Notre Dame? Did I say something about Notre Dame in my video? Or do you live near Notre Dame? Okay. Chelsea said, you may have spoken of this before, but have you ever considered writing a book about your addiction recovery experience? I absolutely love hearing your stories. Okay, so I think it was Kayla that just brought up about something about me writing a book about my mom, and then, like, I never, like, followed up and said anything about it, and I said I've got, like, 1,000,001 ideas about it, but it meant something to me that Kayla said she'd like to hear a story about my mom. So I've actually, like, I wrote, like, I don't even know at this point. I think it was like 100-some pages or something of like a treatment memoir and like my addiction and stuff like that. It started with me being in treatment. And then also like, I wasn't sure if that was going to be like by itself or I was going to do this one called Pretty Drinker and it was like about me and my mom and about family addiction. It was kind of like I was going to either weave that together with it or it was going to be two separate things. But then I wrote it and I kind of like was like, no, I'm kind of bored of it. I don't know that anybody would care. So I appreciate you saying that. I don't know. To do it, Nick Sheff, like I was talking about, and his dad and Beautiful Boy, they just write so beautifully. I'm so, like, this is the problem, too. It's like, when he's writing it, he's 4 months sober. It's very cathartic for him to talk about what he's going through. I'm 30 years removed from getting sober. Like, I remember bits and pieces of the story, but, like, in all reality, and I'm not saying this to be, like, callous or whatever, but, like, half the people that I used with aren't even here on this planet anymore. Half the people in my life aren't even here. My mom's gone. My aunt and uncle are gone. You know, several of my sponsors are gone. I don't even know, like, I don't remember specifics of my story unless, like, I'm telling a story and then I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember this or whatever. Like, when I was telling a story the other day about that first meeting I went to, that's something I've shared in a meeting 1,000 times, you know? So when I talk about that or I talk about coffee and things like that, it's like, those are things I've told a lot, but I don't know if I were to go back and write a book. It's not like I could remember 19 years old, you know, being on the streets and something like that, you know, like trying to like score. I don't remember, like I remember specific incidences. I remember like going over to my drug dealer's house and him putting a gun in my mouth and making me like simulate oral sex with this gun, and all him and his friends laughing. It was a cocked loaded gun. I mean, I remember specific incidences like that. There's probably 30 more that I've never shared on video that are just as horrendous. But I don't like remember the day in and the day out of it to like write a book. And I don't know that I would need to. I don't know what I would do. I would love the suggestion. I don't know what I would do with a book at 30 years sober. I don't know what I would, you know, how I would tell a story about it, if that makes sense. Because I think people are really interested in like the using, and then, I mean, it'd be very dated too. I mean, I got sober in 1994, you know what I mean? Everybody's telling me to talk about what I want to talk about on here. I appreciate that. Thank you. Kristen said, yes, I live in Indiana. Oh, she told me, oh, she's the one that was talking about Delco. She told me where she lived, Lafayette, or she lives in Lafayette, was Kokomo, moved to West Lafayette. Kokomo is so bad now. A lot of people, I mean, I know, like, I was just talking about somebody the other day, and I know you said, and they were like, oh, it's so bad now, drugs and alcohol. Kokomo was bad 30 years ago with drugs and alcohol. I mean, it really was. It really was. Kokomo is one of the cities that has been like, you know, talk about meth. That, I mean, it's these country towns, these factory towns that like have been hardest with meth. Because it was cheap and it was easy to make back in the day until we started seeing these like meth factories blow up and stuff like that, which is so sad. Everybody, you guys are so sweet. Talk about whatever you want. Oh, I wanted to comment about this. Kathy said, or Kayla said, Peter, I think it's interesting that your anxiety hits you the moment you wake up. Mine usually hits me right before I fall asleep. Okay, what's so weird about you saying that was when I read it, I was like, oh, I've been wanting to say that. That is something that's starting to happen to me. Like when I am so relaxed in bed at night, I can almost kind of feel like this vibration coming through me. And it's only happened like once or twice before, but more recently, and when I read that comment, I was like, oh my God, like I feel seen in that moment, right? Like I was like, because I thought I was going nuts. I was like, does this mean it's like happening more and more and more? So thank you for sharing that, Kayla. I appreciate it. That really helped me. I felt like not so all alone in that. Alice said, thanks for sharing about the meetings. It was interesting to learn a little bit about it. The battery just went to the halfway mark, which means it's going to die. Oh, I want to say this because I love this comment. So, Alexa said, keep coming back. It works if you work it. My mom was in, she says, a 12-step program. And as a single mom, she dragged me along as a little girl. I'd sit in a corner coloring or take a nap on her coat under the chair. This was in a very small town in Canada, so there were only maybe 5 to 10 people in the meeting. So I was very much raised in the rooms of recovery, strange as that may be. I don't think it's strange at all. I have several friends of mine that, especially when I was going to noon meetings, that like in the summer would bring their kids to meetings. I can remember like the kids would have on headphones and they just sit in a meeting, or they would color, or they play on their tablets or whatever. I've shared this story before. It's one of my favorite stories. So I worked with this woman whose husband, it was her second husband. He ended up becoming my sponsor. He has since passed away from a heroin overdose. But she got arrested for possession, and then she went to prison and she was pregnant. And then she had her daughter while she was in prison. And so when she got sober in prison, but her, so her daughter's sobriety birthday, like for every birthday, she would like take her to a meeting, and then her daughter would get a token or a keychain like on the day of her birthday because she was like sober that many years. I always thought that was the coolest thing, like because she was born sober, and it was like this family thing. I mean, they like did like as a family, they did everything together. You know, like they were really involved, and I'm trying to like not say certain programs, but they were very involved in all kinds of programs, family programs as well to do with addiction. I love that. I don't think it's strange at all. I think, you know, like, in 12-step programs, there's a lot of family stuff that goes on. I mean, it's not like, well, there's 12-step programs for family members and friends. When you go to like a convention, there's like, they'll have 12-step speakers, like a state convention or something. They'll have like 12-step speakers, and then, well, 12 steps specific to addiction, like, and then they'll have family member speakers from 12-step programs of family members, and they'll speak both there, right? And it's really cool to see everybody there, and like you go to a convention of a bunch of addicts and alcoholics that have been sober for a while, and you see families there and eating dinners together, you know? They say we do recover, and it's true, you know? And one of the things they say is you'll get your family back, you know, and relationships will be healed. And I think it's really cool, and I love that you shared that story, you know? I I love that. So thank you so much. I think there's worse places that you could have been raised, in all honesty. It's interesting because people are always like, oh my God, somebody brought a kid. It's like half of my friends are like, they don't even know what's going on, or they have their headphones on. They're not even paying attention to what we're doing. I really very rarely, or they'll have their kids sitting like right outside, the hallway while they're listening to it. But it's not as common today as it was back in the day. My battery's flashing, so I'm going to get off here now. But it's not as common today as it used to be. But I've had quite a few of my female friends that have brought their kids, to meetings and stuff like that. So anyway, thank you for sharing that. I hope that you guys are having a magically amazing Wednesday. You made it halfway through the week. If nobody else has told you this today, I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye. Love ya!